Hello and welcome back to the Green Workbench. Today I'm producing an audiobook of one of my books, creating my own audiobook, and this is my process. I want to walk through that process in case you are trying to do the same thing. I'm using Adobe Audition. Now the first thing you need to do is you want this file to be accepted by the audiobook companies, namely Audible. And so you need to do it in the format they want and then create the end product they want, and that's what this is doing. So first you record it at the sample rate of 44.1 hertz, mono, 24 bits. Create your new chapter, hit OK, and then you're ready to record. All right, I'm not going to show myself recording this chapter, but I'll get back to you after it's done to show you how I edit it. Okay, so I finished recording the chapter. This is the entire chapter here. I want to bring it back down to a smaller section. Now, one thing, a mistake that I initially made before I researched it, is you don't want to use an effect that creates silence. It doesn't work. It sounds odd to the ear, creates kind of a ringing noise in your ear, and it's just not natural. So in audiobooks, it's not silent. It's just the white noise of nothing happening in a quiet room. So I'm going to take a section here. You can see that this section is quiet. I'm going to copy it and then delete the beginning. This is just me getting set up. That's probably a cough or clearing my throat. And then Control V or paste, just that white noise. So anywhere where I have extra noise, see there's a little bump right here. I can just highlight and replace it with that white noise. Now I'm going to listen to the whole thing. I can use audio as I'm listening, but also visual clues. So if I've ever, let's see if I can find one here. Right here. So if I ever make a mistake or I don't like how my intonation on a certain sentence, I use a clicker. This is just a dog training clicker you can get for a couple bucks. And that creates that visual cue that there's something here that's a mistake. So I can tell that it's this visually because the audio signature of these to this section right here is very similar to this section right here. But I'm going to listen to it just to be sure. And then all I have to do is select it from where the good one starts to the beginning of the bad one, and then paste in that white noise in that section. So I'm going to walk through the entire chapter that way, and once you get used to how your voice works, so like this right here, for me is usually a consonant at the end of a word. So let's see how I did that D, or a P, or a T. But if I have something at the beginning, a pickup, to a sentence, that's usually me taking a breath, and I want to get rid of that noise. So I can tell visually as I'm listening where I need to pay attention or where I'm going to need to paste in that white noise. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. You don't need to sit and watch me do all of that. So I will get back to you. Sometimes you have a pretty large section, but you have that clicker there so you know. And I went back, it was a full pretty long sentence I had to go back to, but all I have to do is highlight it and then click the paste button, and I'm ready to go. Now if you make a mistake, so say I delete this and that's a mistake, you can hit Control Z and it takes you back to your last action. So it's not the end of the world. Now, if you need to, you listen to a section and you need to just completely replace it, you can do that. If you set your marker at a certain spot and then hit record, it starts recording over it. So you don't want to record over. So what you would do is just paste in that white noise for just a little bit longer than the sentence you are re-recording, hit record, record it, hit stop, and now you have that new section right there where you wanted it. And you can delete the old one. So that's actually pretty easy to do. All right, I've gone through the whole thing. Make sure you don't just use the visual. Sometimes there's like I'm in a basement, and even so, sometimes a loud enough car goes by outside or a big enough truck that I get rumbling that I didn't notice while I'm recording. So that's a time when you have to go back and record that sentence again. And you're only going to hear that when you listen with good headphones. All right, at the end I'm going to add about 2 seconds. Now, it's time to run all of the effects. So I'm going to select all. The first one I run is a built-in noise reduction restoration, adaptive noise reduction. Here are my settings. I used basic settings that I found online and then kind of tweaked them to what tends to work for my microphone and voice. But this is a good place for you to start. If you want to copy those, hit apply, and it will run that noise reduction. You've taken most of the noise out already just with that white noise, but anything that you've missed, anything in the background, it still kind of cleans it up. And because it's adaptive and you've set it at those percentages, it's not bringing it to absolute quiet, which you don't want, like I said. Next, I set up my own rack, and I looked at an article on how to do this. I'm not going to teach you how to do it, but I'll show you my rack. And here, let me click on each one of these. Most of these are freeware. Some cost a couple of bucks. So this first one, the DC-1A3, is from Klinghelm. And these are my settings. The next one is a TDSer from Techivation. Again, my settings. This helps with that S sound that you get with a lot of words in English. Son EQ. Again, here are my settings. Then single band compressor is built in. And then the automatic click remover, again, built in. So those, all I have to do is hit Audiobook preset and then apply, and it will apply all of those effects at once, so you don't have to do them individually. You don't have to reset them individually. And it really takes no time at all. The next effect we want to run is to normalize, and this is for Audible, because you want every chapter, you don't want someone listening and suddenly your chapter is super loud and then it's super quiet, so they have to keep adjusting the volume button. You want it to be normalized through all of the tracks. So I'm going to set that actually at 3. It was set above that because I had my last chapter I had some issues with one spot where it peaked. So -3 decibels, hit apply. And I've found that if I run the mono or the single band compressor again, same settings, and then normalize again, that tends to flatten out any large jumps and is helpful. So I'm going to run the normalizer again. Now, there's a way to check to make sure that Audible will accept this, and I'm going to show you that now. So I'm going to export the file, and see here, this is when you originally recorded. These are the settings. You want the 44.1 hertz mono 24-bit in your recording. I'm going to save this as an MP3. Now I'm going to open up my folder where those are saved, my audiobook folder. All right, go down to chapter 60, open with Audacity. That's freeware if you're not familiar with Audacity. Now select all. So this is a plugin that's not available for Audition. It's only available for Audacity, which is why I'm using it. It's a free plugin you can download, ACX Check. This checks that makes sure that it meets the Audible standard. So this is kind of what Audible will do when it is processing your audio. And it shows you it passed. If it didn't pass, you have to go back and rework your effects. Most of the time, if it doesn't pass for me, I have to go back and do the single band compressor and normalize again. That's why I just do it twice to start with. So I know it's good to go. It's accepted by Audible. Now I come back and just save the project and save the big WAV file, so not just the compressed MP3 in case I need to go back later. And then close, and I'm ready to move on to the next chapter. So that is my process of recording and then editing my audiobook chapter by chapter. Once you get used to it actually goes fairly quickly. The most difficult part is the actual narration, not the editing. So let me know if you have any questions. Hopefully this was helpful. Please subscribe, hit the notification button, and I will see you next time on the Green Workbench. Thanks for watching.